come in, sir?
Yes.
जी.
Yes.
Thank you.
Beso.
So how was your day?
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. How was your day?
Day was hectic and I'm enjoying it so far.
Yes. So
Okay.
introduce yourself.
પહેલા તો કોડ અને પછી તમારું જે બેઝિક ઇન્ટ્રો છે એ આપો.
My code is Y23.
ઓકે.
Y for yellow.
Yep. Okay. Introduce yourself.
So I did my engineering in EC in 2014 from Marwad University. And after that, directly I did my MBA from Symbiosis University, Pune in telecom management. And after that, I had been working in the field of telecom analytics since last 5.5 years. For the first 3 years, I was working with Vodafone Idea Limited. And since last 2.5 years, I have been working with Infosys Limited, Pune.
Okay.
And apart from this, in my free time, I like to play cricket, volleyball, or also I'm little fond of wildlife. So I'm also taking some keen interest in that area as well whenever I get time.
ओके. पहले तो एक दो बात हम पहले इंटरव्यू से पहले क्लियर कर लें. ओके. पैनल मेंबर है, गुजराती में पूछे, हिंदी में पूछे, आपको जो भी कंफर्टेबल लग रहा हो कि मैं हिंदी में, इंग्लिश में, जो भी, ओके, या फिर गुजराती में, जो भी आप आंसर दे सकते वो लैंग्वेज यूज़ कर सकते, कोई इश्यू नहीं है. डन. पहले तो इसी इंजीनियर है आप.
Yes.
ओके. आप बताइए कि आपकी स्ट्रेंथ किस में, इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स में है या कम्युनिकेशन में है?
Sir, on the communication side, and basically, sir, what has happened is that directly I did my MBA, so I have used more of the telecom experience I have gained in my MBA in my work experience. So the EC which I did, the technical part, that is lesser in use since last
Okay.
5.5 years.
टेलीकॉम. ओके. टेलीकॉम का तो आपको अच्छी तरह से नॉलेज होगा ही, क्योंकि आपने MBA भी किया, टेलीकॉम मैनेजमेंट है उसमें. थोड़ा टेक्निकल साइड भी देखेंगे और थोड़ा मैनेजमेंट साइड भी देखेंगे.
Sure.
डन. टेलीकम्युनिकेशन में, ओके, तो कम्युनिकेशन और टेलीकम्युनिकेशन दोनों में थोड़ा अंतर क्या है?
कम्युनिकेशन मतलब बात या माध्यम, जो भी दो लोग या दो जीव बात जो करते हैं और अपने विचार की आदान प्रदान जो करते हैं, वो कम्युनिकेशन है. और अगर हम उसमें टेलीकॉम माध्यम का यूज़ करें, फ़ोन का यूज़ करें, मोबाइल का यूज़ करें, तो वो टेलीकम्युनिकेशन हो गया.
ओके. अगर आप आंसर इंग्लिश में देना चाहते हैं, कोई इश्यू नहीं.
ओके, श्योर.
हाँ. दूसरी चीज़, सैटेलाइट कम्युनिकेशन की बात करें. ओके. टेलीकम्युनिकेशन जो भी हम कर रहे हैं सैटेलाइट के द्वारा कर रहे हैं. ओके. तो उसमें, ओके, कौन कौन से सैटेलाइट है, ओके, कौन से सैटेलाइट है जिससे हम, ओके, ये टेलीकम्युनिकेशन है वो करेंगे. पहला चीज़ वो, सैटेलाइट के अंदर ऐसे क्या चीज़ है, ओके, ऐसे कौन से कंपोनेंट वगैरह है जिससे हम कम्युनिकेशन कर सकते हैं.
Okay. So to answer your first question, which is the satellite we use for telecommunication? So I think that is INSAT series satellites
Okay.
we are using.
Good.
And the second question, what are the components in the satellite which are used for communication? So basically there would be a transponder
Yep.
which transmits as well as receives the signal.
How many transponder are there? Any specific criteria or anything?
Not sure on that, sir.
Okay. What is the frequency are there
So
for
it is,
receive and send?
so I think that works on microwave frequency. I don't know the range, but it's microwave.
Okay. अगर हम कोई चीज़ है, मान लीजिए 4G है, तो उसमें हम क्या करते हैं कि 3G से ज़्यादा 4G में बैंडविड्थ वगैरह हम ज़्यादा बढ़ा देते हैं. तो उसका कारण क्या होता है?
Sir, with increase in bandwidth, the transmission speed increases. So we can get better bandwidth and better user experience basically.
Okay.
But there is also a drawback to it. So with increase in speed, the coverage also decreases. So there is a
Okay.
trade-off between them.
Okay. आपने वाईमैक्स कुछ सुना है?
Yes, sir.
क्या है वाईमैक्स?
Not clear on that, sir.
Li-Fi?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So
What is the
Li-Fi is a upcoming technology where it is still in the prototype stage, where we would be using source of light to transmit internet. Let's say if there is a router in the room, so currently we are connected via a router through the waves.
Yeah.
Whereas if we would be using Li-Fi, so wherever light reaches, we could communicate or get the internet connectivity
क्या
via light.
बेनिफिट क्या होगा उससे?
So not very clear, but I think there would be two clear benefits. One would be the coverage and second would be the speed.
कवरेज तो आई थिंक वाईफाई में ज़्यादा होगा ना, लाइट तो यहाँ से दूसरे रूम में तो जा नहीं पाएगी, ओके। वाईफाई में तो ऐसी कुछ चीज़ें नहीं, जहाँ तक है रेंज है वो हम कर सकते हैं, ओके। तो वाईफाई में स्पीड ज़्यादा रहती है, ओके, और वाईफाई में रेंज ज़्यादा रहेगी, डन, ओके। MBA किया है आपने, ओके। तो टेलीकॉम मैनेजमेंट की जब बात हम कर रहे हैं, ओके, तो आप देखते होंगे कि कभी कभार है कि सुप्रीम कोर्ट में भी ने कहा कि जो कॉल ड्रॉप रेशियो है वो कहीं ना कहीं थोड़ा ज़्यादा है, तो उसको कम करने के लिए क्या क्या कर सकते हैं, टेक्निकली भी और मैनेजमेंट के हिसाब से भी।
So sir, to answer this question, so we need to go into the history of when this problem started arising. Because when we see before the onslaught of Reliance Jio around mid 2016, things were fine. Airtel was at the top, followed by Vodafone and Idea. But then Reliance Jio came into the market. They started freebies. So because of these freebies, there was a sudden expansion in the number of handsets and number of internet users. So this led, because and proportionately there was no subsequent investment in expanding the towers.
Okay.
So because of this, for a brief period of time, initially 6 months from 2016 to mid 2017, people used to face this issue.
ओके, तो आपको क्या लग रहा है, अभी कॉल ड्रॉप कुछ नहीं हो रहा है,
So
ऐसा है?
so the
क्योंकि
ratio.
इससे देखिए अभी तो क्या है कि अभी जितने यूज़र है उससे भी ज़्यादा यूज़र तो बढ़ने ही वाले हैं, ओके। तो उसको कम करने के लिए क्या क्या कर सकते हैं?
So basically now we need to move towards VoIP, which is called voice over internet.
Yes.
So now we have better internet connection. Let's say we have around 75 or 78% of teledensity in India. And in urban areas it is over 100%, which technically means a person has more than one connection. Whereas in rural area it is around 70%. So and also we have around 50% of broadband penetration in India currently. So half of the population is using 4G. So better we move these users on internet or on public Wi-Fi, and then they can make voice call as well as data, which can lead to better customer experience and reduction in call drops.
ओके, गुड। इन्फोसिस में ओके आप काम कर रहे हैं, ओके। तो इन्फोसिस के जो अभी कंपटीटर वगैरह है, पहले तो कौन कौन है?
So Infosys comes second after TCS in terms of revenue, in terms of workforce in India.
ओके, दोनों के वर्क कल्चर में क्या क्या डिफरेंसेस है?
So I have not worked with TCS.
Okay.
I work with Infosys, but I think the work culture are very similar because the background of the founders has lot of say in how a company is run. So TCS is backed by Tata, values of Tata, ethics, whereas Infosys is run by Narayan Murthy and his team, Nandan Nilekani, who were the former founders.
आपको एक कंडीशन दी जाए कि भाई इन्फोसिस और TCS ओके दोनों में पैकेजेस भी अच्छी तरह से मिल रहे हैं, जो भी आप दोनों में जो भी जगह पर आप काम करना चाह रहे हो वो जगह भी दे रहे, आप किसको प्रेफर करेंगे?
Probably TCS.
ओके, व्हाई?
Because sir, I used to follow Mr. Ratan Tata, so and also what Tata has done for our nation since last 200 years, how they are contributing to the society.
ओके,
so,
वो तो चलिए वो ठीक है,
Yeah.
ओके। पर मान लीजिए आप TCS में काम करते हो, बाद में ऐसा तो नहीं आपको पर्सनली जो रतन टाटा जी हो मिलने आएंगे, ऐसा कुछ तो नहीं, आप सिर्फ आइडियोलॉजी वगैरह फॉलो करते हैं?
Yes.
ऐसा क्या है कि आप इन्फोसिस छोड़कर TCS में जाएंगे?
So this was the only reason, maybe the founder. Otherwise, the work culture and all is same.
ओके, मान लीजिए कि आपके पहले तो प्रेफरेंस बताइए कि किस तरह से प्रेफरेंस लिए है आपने?
Sir, my preference would be GAS,
ओके,
followed by DYSP,
ओके,
followed by Assistant Commissioner, State Tax.
ओके। मान लीजिए कि आप अभी तो अच्छी जगह पर काम कर रहे हैं, ओके, अच्छा खासा पैकेज जो भी हो वो होगा, ओके। पर मान लीजिए आप डिप्टी कलेक्टर बन रहे हैं और ऐसे कोई ब्लॉक वगैरह है या तालुका जो गुजरात में कहते हैं, ओके, मान लीजिए कि गोधरा साइड है, डांग साइड है, वहाँ पर आपका पोस्टिंग हुआ तो वहाँ तो कोई फैसिलिटी वगैरह भी नहीं मिल रही, तो क्यों ये अच्छी जॉब छोड़कर आप DC बनना चाहते हैं?
So I would like to give perspective to this
जी।
answer. So I am basically born and brought up in a rural area here.
ओके,
I have been working in Pune since last 5 years and MBA before that. So since last 7 years I'm in Pune. But since last 5 years I have been working. So I've experienced that culture as well. And then I started going out, knowing people, seeing things around us. reading good magazines like Outlook, India, Caravan, seeing
Okay.
the problems people are facing. So that developed my interest and what government is doing, the power of bureaucracy, how they can make an impact on life. So I thought my experience and my zeal, if I want to utilize to the fullest, if I want to make an impact to the society, I think getting into the government would be the right platform.
ओके, तो आप रूरल डेवलपमेंट के लिए क्या करेंगे, पहली थिंग। और दूसरी चीज, रूरल डेवलपमेंट में भी जो शेड्यूल कास्ट से बिलोंग कर रहे हैं, ओके, जिसका सोसाइटेबल डेवलपमेंट नहीं हुआ, उसके लिए क्या क्या मेजरमेंट लेंगे?
Okay. To answer your first question, what would I be doing for the development of the rural area? So first of all, currently in Gujarat, 55% of the population resides in the rural areas. So they have basic challenges like better schools, which are not available to them. Let's say we have improved our public education, government schools, but still we do not have good private schools there. So we can
सोसाइटिकल क्या मेजर लेंगे? जो भी शेड्यूल कास्ट वाले, चलिए एजुकेशन वो सारी चीज़ें तो हो गई, उससे अलावा क्या मेजर लेंगे?
Okay. So let's say if I am posted as SDM of a particular taluka, which is predominantly covers a tribal population. So first of all, I will try to analyze whatever data I get for past few years regarding the coverage of, let's say, how many tribals are covered under various government schemes, what are the crimes which are registered against them, what is the status of those things, also what are the employment opportunities they are currently involved in, what more avenues can we find for them, can we connect them through this online portal, can we get their students enrolled into government school, is there any discrimination faced by SC ST students in midday meal scheme, because we hear such cases sometimes.
Okay, done. My last question. Who are your ideal? आपके आइडियल कौन है?
Sir, there are few people from whom I've taken different qualities.
Okay.
Like, let's say, I like Raghuram Rajan's few of the qualities. I like Rahul Dravid.
Why Raghuram Rajan?
So, sir, I thought that if you see his background, he was an IIT Delhi pass out. He was a gold medalist there. Then he went to IIM Ahmedabad. He could have taken a good, cushy job, but then he became a professor somewhere. Then he came to India and served as chief economic advisor to the finance minister. Then became RBS
done.
governor.
Okay, done. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Ji. As you just mentioned, Chief Economy Advisor. So there is a post called Economic Advisor to the Union Government, but there is no such post in state government. There are financial advisors, there are financial ministers who are making budget for the state, but why we don't have economy advisor to the state government?
So, sir, this is at the prerogative of the state government. If they want to have it, they can bring it. To give you an example, Kerala few years back appointed Geeta Gopinathan, who is currently serving as the chief economist of IMF. So Kerala government had brought her on board to take her advice regarding some measures in the state. So we can also do that.
But they don't have a post called economy advisor. Why we don't have such things in our states of India?
I don't know the reason.
Is there a constitutional restraints for the restriction over there, or this a discretion power of the chief ministers?
I think this can be created at the discretion of the chief minister, because similarly we do not have any constitutional post of chief economic advisor as well.
Okay. Can you distinguish the difference between a researcher, activist, and administrators?
Okay. So a researcher is somebody who is involved with research in terms of, let's say, it can be academic research, research related to science, research related to biology, anything. Whereas the activist would be somebody who would be fighting for the rights of underprivileged or people who are at disadvantage in our society. Administrator is somebody who manages resources, people. It can be public administrator as well as private administrator.
Okay. As you have mentioned that you would love to read Outlook and Caravan and other magazines, so somehow I feel that you are a good activist and you cannot be a good administrator. Prove me wrong.
So, reading these things, because sir, I had been brought up in a lovely state like Gujarat. If you see, so Gujarat comes among top 5 states across various parameters. So, we do not know, there are hell lot of problems which people of other states are facing, basic problems like light, electricity. So, I never got accustomed to such problems. And also, luckily, with grace of God, I have been part of a good family, got good education. So I think I was living in a bubble. And when I started reading these things, reading newspaper, then I got to know there are many more problems of malnutrition, of discrimination against women, domestic violence, and all. So I got these things, information about these things through newspaper or media. But I think if I want to make a difference, if I want to really make a difference, I need to be in the administration. Being an activist, I can just raise slogan or fight against government. I can still make some impact, but it will take a lot of time.
Okay. In Indian cinema, the Indian movies contains good songs. It's either a Gujarati movie, Marathi movie, or in other region, or Hindi movie. But as far as Europe or USA is concerned, their movies does not contain songs. These reasons are culturally or entertainment.
So I am not a big movie fan, so I don't know much about this.
Okay. There are some different kind of roles and responsibility of a deputy collector. They are working as a branch officer, DSO, and a general manager in board or organization or corporation as well. So how can a deputy collector manage such a vast kind of responsibility in their whole career?
So I think the diversity is a biggest advantage of an administrator. Let's say today I am posted as STM for the first time, so I will get an experience of how to handle the functioning of a taluka, manage land revenues, disputes, and also overlook the law and order. Let's say then I am moved to as supply officer, then I would be looking after the civil supplies. So I think with experience it can be cultivated, and I don't think it will be a challenge for any administrator to switch his profile.
What are the rates of this wheat and rices as far as DSO is concerned, and this cheap rates shops are delivering to the poor masses? Do you know about the rates?
Yes, sir. The public distribution rates at the targeted PDS shops are 3, 2, and 1. 3 rupee for rice, 2 rupee for wheat, and 1 rupee for coarse grain.
Union government recently changed the name of Madhyan Bhojan Yojana, midday meal. Do you aware about it?
Yes, I'm aware, but I don't know the new name of the scheme.
Do you know how many beneficiaries are there in Gujarat for this midday meal?
Sir, it covers all the school-going children, but I don't know the exact number of students.
Do you put on some lights or throw some lights on that India? There is a Jainism is still there. Jainism and Buddhism came in the same century, but Jainism is still prominently there. But Buddhism is not as good as prevailing as the Jainism. Can you give some ideas on that for the reasons?
So I believe Jainism has restricted itself to India, and the dilution, or let's say the level of dilution which took place in Buddhism was higher than Jainism. Because what happened with Buddhism, Ashoka sent his messengers or followers Sanghamitra and son Mahendra to Sri Lanka and also to other parts of Central Asia. So they tried to spread Buddhism, whereas Jainism was restricted to India itself. And in expansion, what Buddhism did is they created various factions like Hinayan, Mahayana, and due to various disputes, then they had their own ideology. And they also started.
But there are difference in even Jainism, Shwetambar and Digambar and all that, just like Hinayan and Mahayana.
Yes.
But
yes.
still, it is Buddhism is not prevailing in India. Any other arguments?
No, sir.
Okay. Do you aware about Meanbrook conferences about public administration?
No, sir.
What are the second administrative reforms commissions, some ideas and reforms in 2016 headed by the Veerappa Moily?
So, sir, that was a set of reforms which were brought in by or recommended by the commission regarding.
Any 2 or 3 or 1 or 2?
So they were regarding the bringing transparency and also regarding improving the service delivery. There are a few more others, but I cannot recall all of them right now.
Okay. Do you know about Ujjwala schemes?
Yes, sir. So this is a reform or scheme in the uh, power sector where the light traditional CFL bulbs to be replaced with efficient LED bulbs, and they were given by government at subsidized rate. I think 5 pieces per family.
As far as I know, it is about LPG cylinder.
Okay, sorry.
No, whatever you are knowing.
Yeah. So
You need to
Ujjwala
say
was sorry. If given a chance, I would like to
Yes,
take
yes,
back my statement.
Sure.
So Ujjwala scheme was started by our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi around 5 or 6 years back to free our rural women or people who do not have LPG stove or connection at their home, because this will save them from inhaling harmful coal or coke or wooden exhaust, and they can have a full regular stove. So they were giving subsidized stove to them.
To them, to whom?
To all those poor households who do not have a LPG connection.
The scheme is attached with the housewife or a lady. Do you aware about this?
So the connection is taken in the name of a lady, but the entire family can take benefit of it.
Okay. If a person whose parents are died and he is not married and he comes under the BPL, how will he get the Ujjwala Yojana?
I'm not sure what are the provisions in special cases, but I believe there must be some cases government would have taken into consideration, and I believe he or such other disabled or handicapped people can take benefit of it.
Very good. What are the differences between SIR, Special Investment Region, and SEZ, Special Economic Zones?
Okay. So SIR is Special Investment Region. To give you an example, Dholavira is a planned
Dholavira or Dholera?
Sorry, Dholera. Dholera is a planned SIZ where we will bring
SIR.
in SIR. So where we will bring in foreign investment, they will set up their companies, offices. We can have world-class airport, transportation. So basically, we will bring offices and basically we try to boost the service sector more. Whereas SEZ, Special Economic Zone, is concerned with manufacturing products and exporting it. So making our export more competitive, government is giving various benefits like lease land, reduction in taxes and all.
Which SEZ is situated in Gujarat?
We have Kandla SEZ.
And
Other, I can't recall.
Dahej SEZ near Bharuch.
Dahej. Okay, yeah.
Okay. As you did your MBA, so do you recall some organizational behavior theory?
Not accurately, but we had this as
You
part
can-
of our curriculum.
You can.
So there are various things to it. So there are verbal etiquettes, non-verbal etiquettes. So it is said that 90% of our communication is non-verbal. So how do we speak? How do we stand? Says a lot about the other person, about his confidence, his intention, his truthfulness.
There is an advertised series from the Vodafone. It is called as a Vodafone Zuzu, based on a non-verbal communication. There is a mascot called a Zuzu.
Yes.
Do you aware or do you know about the other advertisement segments who use non-verbal communications in a marketing stuff?
Give me half a minute to think if I can recall.
Sure, why not?
Sorry, sir, I cannot recall any ad right now.
Okay, no issue. My last question: why India still into the Commonwealth game? Though it's from British era and it feels like that we are still slavery and kind of stuff. Why we are still use their kind of Commonwealth game participations?
So we are just participating as a nation in the Commonwealth Games, but we are unlike Australia, which still recognizes their monarchy under the UK presidency, under the queenship. So we are not like that. So we have our own.
How we are not like that? Do you have any argument to support? How we can say we are not like that?
Because sir, we have our own constitution and we are independent on our own.
But half of the China and entire USA was once under British, and they are not a part of a Commonwealth.
So I don't know the reason why we are still continuing.
Is there any weaknesses in you?
Probably yes, sir.
What are those?
So I feel that when I'm on my own, so sometimes I'm little unorganized, let's say at home or something. But I make sure when I go out or if there is any formal event, I try to be up to date or whatever it is.
Okay, so
CDMA was launched post mobile, introduction in India. Why? CDMA, you remember CDMA,
Yes, sir.
right? CDMA सेल फोन्स के बाद आया था.
जी.
क्या जरूरत थी इंट्रोड्यूस करने की?
So I think Reliance पहली बार CDMA हैंडसेट लाए थे जिसमें you have handset and SIM together. But I don't know why the business purpose it was brought into.
So why it vanished? बहुत शॉर्ट लाइफ स्पैन रहा CDMA टेक्नोलॉजी का.
No answer on that.
Okay. Pager was really successful in Europe, Japan a lot. जापान में बहुत हाल तक लोग इस्तेमाल कर रहे थे. US also. But इंडिया में नहीं रहा पेजर सक्सेसफुल.
I think एक रीज़न हो सकता है कि यहाँ पे लिटरेसी रेट अपना सर काफ़ी कम था पहले से. सो इसलिए पेजर वुड नीड somebody to type a message, somebody to read a message. तो हमारी यहाँ पे
बट फोन तो आ गया उसके बाद. मोबाइल फोन्स आ गए.
बट सर फोन पे दे जस्ट हैव टू डायल अ नंबर और बात करनी रहती है. वेयर एज पेजर में यू नीड टू टाइप अ मैसेज और रीड अ मैसेज. तो अभी जाके अपना लिटरेसी रेट अराउंड 77-78% पहुंचा है सर. सो पेजर आई थिंक आया था ऑलमोस्ट 30 years बैक.
Okay. What were the subjects in your MBA with SIMB?
So we had subjects like regulations in telecom. We had subjects on specific technology, 4G, LTE, VoIP.
Okay. So let's start with there is lots of noise around 5G. Famous actresses filed a petition also in Supreme Court. What do you have to say about this particular petition and what is reality about the technology?
So to answer your first question,
Yeah.
this petition was filed by Juhi Chawla, stating that bringing 5G and 5G would be running on higher band. So this will cause alteration of human genes and it can cause cancer to us and also harmful to birds. It will distort their waves by which they communicate or navigate. But it has been proven. So this noise was also not only for 5G but also for towers before 4-5 years that residents were opposing that we would be getting cancer or we would be getting any harmful ailments because of this. But this is proven that these airwaves are safe and they do not have the capability to alter our genes and cause cancer. So I think this hue and cry is unnecessary.
But tell me, doctors suggest if you undergo through lots of X-ray, which is kind of radioactive, you can say, or CT scan or MRIs, it can create cancerous cell if you're overexposed. So what is difference between these waves and the telecom waves we are talking about?
So telecom waves are running on megahertz, let's say from 800 megahertz to 2300 megahertz right now.
Okay.
Whereas the radiation which the doctor is talking about is more of our handset. So there is a value called SAR. I don't know the abbreviation of it, but higher the SAR, higher is the propensity of your device to radiate. So which is harmful as per doctors and not the radiation transmitted by the towers.
Okay, great. Airtel was number one, Vodafone was number two, Jio didn't existed. Today both these players, they have decided to join hands in few circles. There were lots of telecom players coming from Russia, coming from Europe, homegrown brands. They have vanished. What went wrong? Or what went right? Either ways.
Yeah. To answer your question, I will give you a small brief of it. So telecom boom in India started around, let's say, 2005 onwards, when A. Raja became the telecom minister. So before that, earlier currently we have auction system of providing spectrum. Earlier it was administratively allocated. So at that time in India we do not had much telecom penetration. So we gave arbitrary licenses to many players. So people who did not have experience, like Videocon or Singtel from Singapore or Exotel from UAE, they also got these licenses. And we started all these Telenor and hell lot many companies. But then consolidation happened because market cannot survive without sufficient finances. Then Jio came. When Jio came in 2016, Airtel had around 35 crore subscribers. Idea had around 22 and Vodafone had 24. But Jio came with a predatory pricing strategy where for the first 90 days they offered free voice and data. Before Jio came, we used to pay 300 rupees for 1 GB of 4G data, 3G data, 4G data. But when Jio started this predatory pricing, the other operators had to meet those prices, otherwise they were facing
Why
high
we
churn.
call it predatory? It was beneficial for common people,
Yes,
for
it was
consumers.
it was beneficial for common people, but a business needs to be viable. So
Okay.
to give you a corollary, few days back our aviation minister Mr. Jyotiraditya Scindia said that these domestic flight prices needs to go up or else all the airlines would go bankrupt. So we need some level of prices in order to survive. Because one more reason, sir, India is a country where we have the lowest voice rate and data rate, but in the world, but we have the highest spectrum rates. So this is an irony. If you see a telecom player, on top of paying 25% corporate tax, they have to pay spectrum charges which are 8% and then user fees which is 5%. So actually they are paying 25 plus 13 which is 38%. So if they are earning 100 rupee today, 38 rupee goes to government. So this model is not viable in the long run.
Good. What more we can do, to transform different sectors using the backbone? Telecom is called backbone. What all sectors can be, transformed using telecom sector?
So if I think out loud, so we can use this across all the sectors. So education sector, pharmacy sector, even in agriculture, let's say we can, first of all, we need to have infrastructure across rural areas as well. So which the government is doing by bringing the BharatNet project, where the plan is to connect 2 lakh out of 6 lakh villages, 6.5 lakh villages with minimum broadband speed, so that at least the local panchayat and education facilities can be provided. So once that is done, then we can have, so the farmers can get updates about weather forecasting and they can sow the seeds accordingly or plant their things. Similarly in education, let's say if a rural area like Dang, where no good teacher would like to go, let's say a kid sitting in Ahmedabad might be getting a good education, whereas a kid sitting in Dang may not be getting, because nobody would like to travel to rural areas. Now if we can use telecom or internet as backbone, then we can use the same teacher and ask him to conduct lectures for those kids sitting in Ahmedabad.
I feel we are highly influenced by Britishers. They ruled us approx 200 years, and we are still slave. We are talking about officer, who would be, gazetted rank, GS or DYSP. He's fluent with English, but we have not heard anything talking about our own Indian languages. Gujarati, you would be communicating not only with Sahib and educated people from the industry, but I feel like hiring someone like you, it's good if they are based in Ahmedabad, Gandhinagar, into a corporate office. But dealing with common people, real India, it would be very difficult. You cannot communicate with them. They would not be able to correlate with you. They would not be able to trust you. What happened in Naxal areas? All these Sahabs, they went, they exploited. Britishers came, we were very innocent citizens, we were exploited. So we find it's very difficult to trust people who come into suit and boot. What is your reasoning?
So, sir, I don't think that will be a challenge now on. Let's say if you consider me that I may not be a good candidate who can go to, let's say, unprivileged or rural area and gain the trust of people, it won't be like that. Britishers, they had a separate appearance. I am a localite, so I'm just conversing in English because I had done my education in English. Because we Britishers ruled us for 200 years, and also English is accepted globally just because British ruled. Had India ruled the world, then the world had been speaking Hindi. So it is just a language, that nothing more than that.
So language is just a language, or it has emotions? Why Tamilians are not ready to accept any language, which is maybe Hindi or any other language, if it is just a language?
So there, the issue is with their identity. So Tamils or the southern states feel that some sections of the country are trying to impose Hindi on them. But we have 22 national languages, and Tamil being the oldest language, even before Sanskrit, we had Tamil. So I think this is not right to impose any language to anybody. So as long as I'm able to communicate my thoughts with words or without words, Mr. Bean was able to communicate his thoughts even without saying anything.
No.
So I think language is not a barrier anywhere.
Okay, subnationalism, is this a threat or it's a benefit to the nation?
Sorry, sir, I didn't get your question.
Subnationalism. Me Marathi manos,
Okay.
or Bengali manos,
Regionalism.
Tamilian, yeah, regionalism. So we call it subnationalism.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
So I think this is a threat to some extent because we feel this somewhere. So I had been to Maharashtra since like 5.5 years. So we feel some sense that these people treat us as outsider to some extent. In Haryana also they recently passed a law that any job below 50,000 you need to recruit 75% people from Haryana, which is unviable. So I think these things are not good in long run for any country. We may have local reservation at lower level, let's say for people at the bottom of the society. For them we can have some level of reservation, but apart from that I think we should consider India as one.
How about recent changes in Kashmir, Jammu and Kashmir, the legal framework or maybe constitutional framework? How you perceive?
I perceive this to be a positive move, which this is the first step towards integration of Jammu and Kashmir into mainland of India. Till now we had been restricted by Article 370 and 35A. But now since we don't have it, this would be even more beneficial to the people of Jammu and Kashmir rather than rest of India, because now investments can flow in easily to those lands, and tourism can also develop, and people of Jammu and Kashmir can sense that oneness. Now there is no separate constitution, no separate flag for Jammu and Kashmir. So I think this will take time. It will not materialize in few years, but I think a decade or 2 decades down the line, we can consider Kashmir as we are considering any other part of India, like let's say Gujarat or Rajasthan, whatever.
Tell me incident or event where your core values were tested. You felt like you would go away with your core values or ethics in your life. Any event, any incident, anything, a phase.
So, sir, I don't think there was any such event where I recall where I had my values were at question. If I do this, would it be moral or immoral?
Never?
It had been, but I cannot recall it right now. But more or less minor things would have happened. Let's say if I went to one time it happened. Let's say I went to a petrol pump and I paid 3,200. I filled my car and it was full in 2016-17. And then I paid via card at that time, and that time card was not readily acceptable everywhere. So the transaction failed somehow, and then I went back. I was going from my hometown to a city, and then I got to know that my money has been refunded. then I did not had the number of that guy, and I thought that this 3,200 rupee may not be a big amount for me.
Blessing from God,
No, sir. God has already blessed me.
Okay.
So then I thought attendant whose salary would be 5,000 or 10,000, his manager would scold him, and that would be deducted from his salary. Then 2 days after my journey, I was returning. And at that time, I went there and paid my 3,200 in cash.
How was his expression or reaction to it? Like you're coming after 2 days, no one comes back. Forget
So
3,000,
there was-
no one comes up
Yeah.
for even 50 rupee.
Yeah. So there was a sigh of relief on his face. You can see that I think that 3,200 rupee would help him survive 1 month or 2 months of ration for him. So that was satisfying.
So he can recall that you didn't pay and you went away.
Yeah. He recalled. Yeah. Because at end of the day, I have to submit the accounts to the manager that this was the cash, this was the card amount, and this was the fuel I had given.
So he had feeling that you deliberately didn't pay and went away, or he thought like there might be a technical.
Yeah, then he understood because I went there, which means that there was some technical error, and I realized it later.
Okay. Thank you. Your interview.
Your interview is over.
Done.
Ah,
What's your name?
Malay Maniyar.
Malay.
Malay.
Okay, good. Malay ji, you are way ahead than many other candidates. You performed really nice, really good. We all are happy with you.
We'll feel sad if you are not there.
Yeah.
Good. You would be a really good administrator. Your appearance is good. Good eye contact. You are sitting good, sit straight. Confident is good. Everything is good. Somehow, I personally feel that you need to work on a situational based question, because it feels like you are good at it. It feels like you are explaining too much, but we need a leadership like quality कि आपके पास you have this backing of a state, because you would be a deputy collector. You have implementation of the you have power of implementing the law and rules and all that. So आप में वो फर्मनेस दिखनी चाहिए कि आप अपने एम्प्लॉयज जितना भी 20-25 लोग हैं, 10-12 लोग हैं, उनको साथ लेकर चल सकेंगे और ऊपर वाले को भी सेटिस्फाई कर सकें. तो वो थोड़ा मुझे लगा कि यू आर अ गुड काइंड ऑफ स्टूडेंट, और यू आर गुड एम्प्लॉयज, और यू आर लाइक प्रोफेसर्स. दैट्स गुड. यू आर एक्सप्लेन सो गुड, वेल नाइस. बट समहाउ एक एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर जो होना चाहिए, उनमें जो क्वालिटीज़ होनी चाहिए, वो थोड़ी मुझे लगा कि मतलब थ्रू आउट यू आर ग्रेट देन अदर सो मेनी कैंडिडेट्स, बट योर कॉम्पिटिशन इन लाइक क्लास 1. तो क्लास 1 की जो कंपटीशन है, फर्स्ट कैडर आपने कौन से चूज किया है?
GS.
हाँ, तो गेस ही मिले. इनके लिए आपको थोड़े आंसर्स में ऐसे रहने चाहिए जहाँ पर आपकी लीडरशिप क्वालिटी दिखे. बस दैट्स फ्रॉम माय साइड.
ओके, सारी चीज़ें अच्छी है, कोई इश्यू नहीं है. ओके, एक दो चीज़ें मैं बता दूं. ओके, हो सकता है आप तो आई थिंक इंटरव्यू पूरा इंग्लिश में ही देने वाले हैं. ओके, कभी कभार कोई गुजराती में वगैरह कहे, ओके, तो आप सब कह सकते सर मैं इंग्लिश में ये बता सकता हूँ, ये चीज़ आप कर सकते हैं. ओके, दूसरी चीज़ कि मान लीजिए अभी आप बैठे हैं, ओके, तो इस तरह यहाँ नॉर्मल है, पर ऐसा कीजिए थोड़ा कुर्सी से आगे और थोड़ा बस यस, और उसे थोड़ा कर सकते हैं. तो क्या होगा, थोड़ा स्ट्रेट पोर्शन है तो ऐसा नहीं लगेगा कि ये थोड़ा अभी रिलैक्स मोड में है.
Laid back.
Sitting in a government office is different than the corporate one.
बस वो थोड़ी चीज़ अलग है.
स्ट्रेट बैठना है ऐसे.
हाँ, दूसरी चीज़
ऐसे नहीं बैठना.
अभी
भले
हमने
लिखा है
जो
MBA को नहीं कर सकते.
यस, हमने जो अभी इंटरव्यू लिया वो थोड़ा अभी लंबा लिया, क्योंकि टाइम हमने अच्छी तरह से आपको दिया कि थोड़ा अच्छी तरह से जानना चाहते हैं, और वहाँ पर टाइम ज़्यादा नहीं होगा.
20 मिनट हो गए.
20 मिनट मैक्सिमम, या उससे ज़्यादा 25 मिनट्स है वो. तो थोड़ा जो आंसर वगैरह थोड़ा प्रिसाइज वगैरह अभी करने हैं, कि जितने प्रिसाइज वगैरह करेंगे उतने ज़्यादा वो क्वेश्चन वगैरह पूछ सकेंगे. ओके, तो टू द पॉइंट जितने आंसर हो वो जितनी जल्दी हो सके दीजिए. ऑफिसर लाइक क्वालिटी आप में है ही, बस थोड़ी शार्पनिंग की ज़रूरत है. तो क्लास 1 मुझे ऐसा नहीं लगता कि भाई क्लास 1 आप क्यों, कौन से रीज़न से आप नहीं होगे, कि वो हमें देखना चाहिए. हाँ, दूसरी चीज़ है कि मान लीजिए कि आपकी जो मेंस वगैरह है उसमें गुजराती का जो पेपर्स वगैरह है उसमें जो कोई प्रॉब्लम हुई हो तो अदरवाइज ठीक है. बाकी कोई ऐसा इंटरव्यू में कोई ऐसा इश्यू आपको नहीं आएगा.
बेस्ट है. मुझे एक चीज़ बताओ, मैंने आपको कहा लीडरशिप दिखनी चाहिए, तो क्या करोगे? दिखनी चाहिए मतलब आई एम नॉट सेइंग इन लाइटली, आपको सही बता रहा हूँ. क्या करोगे आप?
So to improve for interview
हाँ,
or
टू
overall?
इम्प्रूव फॉर इंटरव्यू ओनली, आपको पास हो जाना है क्लास 1 में, फिर तो आप कुछ भी
जो भी
करो ना करो आपको देखना है। इंटरव्यू के लिए क्या
मुझे
इम्प्रूव
सर
करो?
ये लगा कि आप जो बोले फॉर्मनेस, आई गेट इट व्हाट यू मीन टू, तो मुझे लगा कि वो थोड़ा एरोगेंट ना हो जाए। लेट्स से मैं ये करूंगा, आई थॉट मैं बोलूंगा आई विल ट्राई टू डू दिस राइट,
एक
शायद उसकी जगह मैं बोलूंगा आई विल डू दिस ट्राई, शायद मैं ऐसे वर्ड्स जो वीक वर्ड्स ना निकाल,
हाँ, ट्राई मत करो, सीधा करना है। एक चीज। दूसरा,
आई विल डायरेक्ट ये ऐसा वर्ड आई कैन यूज।
दूसरा
सर आप बताइए।
दूसरा कि आप में ऐसा लगना चाहिए कि आप काम ले सकते हो किसी के पास। क्लास 1 पोस्ट में तो काम लेना होता है और काम ठीक से बनकर ऊपर देना पड़ता है। तो आपको आपका जो रोल है ना, वो कम्युनिकेशन का रोल है। आपका जो रोल है, जो इन्फॉर्मेशन गैदर की है उसका प्रेजेंटेशन ठीक से ऊपर करने का रोल है। और तीसरा, ऊपर से जो आपको सूचनाएं मिलती है उसका सूचनाएं नीचे आपको परफेक्ट ऐसी देनी है जिसकी जितनी कैपेसिटी है उतना ही देना है। तो वो आप में बातें में दिखनी चाहिए। और आपके पूरे जो सेंटर है, पूरी फिलोसॉफी का सेंटर, आपकी जो थॉट प्रोसेस है उसमें रहना चाहिए गुजरात स्टेट और या भारत कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन या हमारी जो कल्चर है वो आईसीटी के भी बात है तो भारत पे ले आओ। आपको कुछ भी पूछे कि डेप्यूटी कलेक्टर तो भी उसको इंडिया पे या गुजरात पे ले आओ। समझ रहे हो? वो मैं क्योंकि हमारा काम ही है कि टू सर्व द नेशन, और नेशन मतलब लोग। तो वो जो आपने कहा फॉर्मनेस थोड़ा ज्यादा कर दो। ठीक है सर।
आई एम रियली हैप्पी। और थोड़ा CDMA का देख लीजिएगा
जी सर,
टेक्निकल साइड। और
उसका सर रीजन भी था क्यों सीडीएम नहीं चला, जीएसएम चला, बट ये भूल गया मैं। कॉलेज ये केस स्टडी भी आया
देखिए, दो तीन चीज़ें। एक तो जो पेजर है, पेजर जो इंट्रोडक्शन था इंडिया में लेट हुआ और इमीडिएटली मोबाइल आ गया। इट हैज़ नथिंग टू डू विथ लिटरेसी। अभी मोबाइल कोई भी पढ़ा लिखा नहीं है, दे आर वेरी हैंडी। सो जो टाइमिंग था इट वाज रियली इम्पॉर्टेंट, क्योंकि 2 साल के अंदर मोबाइल आ गया और बाकी मार्केट्स में ऐसा नहीं रहा था। तो 10 साल रूल किया था पेजर ने। अनदर थिंग, वोडा यस प्रेडेटरी है, दे हैड डीप पॉकेट्स। और आई थिंक काफ़ी जो आपने बताया कि एक जो चार्जेस है, स्पेक्ट्रम चार्जेस है, उसका एक मार लगा एयरटेल एंड वोडाफोन जैसे लोगों को। एंड जियो वाज स्मार्ट, you know, call charges के लिए you had to pay different spectrum fee, to use VoIP or to use bandwidth you have to pay a different spectrum fee. So they made their entry through, not through the calling but through data, और बाद में वो कॉलिंग पे आ गए। So those were strategies, एक lesson learned है। But I feel like अगर टेलीकॉम की बात हो तो वी शुड हैव मल्टीपल प्लेयर्स, बीट डेमोक्रेसी, बीट एनी इंडस्ट्री, वी शुड नॉट हैव मोनोपोली। That is bad for any industry.
But sir, now I think अपना market stagnant as per global standards हो गया. If you see globally, there are 3 or 4 players anywhere, and now we have reached that stage.
हाँ, so at least we should have good 2 to 3 players.
Yes.
वाइल्ड लाइफ का आपने बोला है,
वाइल्ड लाइफ हमने टच नहीं किया
हमने, बट आप प्रिपेयर करके जाना। नेशनल पार्क और इंडिजिनस स्पीसीज हो गया,
सेंचुरीज क्या होते हैं, नेशनल पार्क क्या है।
हॉबी के बारे में प्रश्न नहीं है, तो हॉबी के बारे में जरूर से ये सारी चीजें कर लीजिए।
हॉबी मुझे लगा
क्रिकेट के वर्ल्ड कप कर लीजिएगा जितने भी है। 75 तक तो नहीं जाने की जरूरत है, पिछले 30 साल के तो थोड़े देख लेना।
तो उसमें एक पूछना ये था, सॉरी
या प्लीज,
मतलब मेरा डाउट था वो बाद में।
हाँ बोलिए आप।
तो ये था फॉर एग्जांपल अभी क्या है कि आई हैव बीन वर्किंग फॉर 5.5 years और बाकी के टाइम में आई यूज्ड टू स्टडी। तो ये हॉबी जो होती है वो कई बार रेगुलरली वी कैन नॉट परस्यू, क्रिकेट खेल नहीं पाते।
यू कैन से माय इंटरेस्ट relies on this.
Interest.
Don't say hobby. I don't have a particular hobby, but my interest includes wildlife and cricket. Okay.
So wildlife में they can ask, चीता को इंट्रोड्यूस करने की बात हो रही है, रिलोकेट करना है गिर एशियाटिक लायंस को, तो उसके क्या पॉजिटिव्स हैं, क्या चैलेंजेस हो सकते हैं, ऑल दोस थिंग्स। व्हाई MP, क्या सिमिलैरिटी क्या है, डिफरेंस क्या है। गिर इज ग्रासलैंड, MP हैज ग्रास एंड जंगल बोथ, तो क्या चैलेंजेस हो सकते हैं, वो 2-3 पॉइंट्स आप देख लेंगे। स्ट्रक्चर जो है गवर्नमेंट का वो देख लेंगे तो इट वुड बी बेटर। एंड समटाइम्स आई फील सर, आपका क्या हो सकता है कि थोड़ा गुजराती अगर बोले तो अच्छा रहेगा।
શ્યોર મતલબ ગુજરાતીમાં કોઈ વાંધો નથી પણ એમ થાય કે અમુક જે ટિપિકલ વર્ડ્સ માનો કે પર્યાવરણ છે પોલ્યુશન છે તો
नहीं
कोई-
इंग्लिश में
कोई
बोलना
issue- ये-
इंग्लिश में
ये-
बोलो आप
इंग्लिश,
नहीं
हाँ।
पूरा इंग्लिश में बोलना है, वो बोलेंगे
हाँ,
इंग्लिश कोई दिक्कत
कोई
नहीं
issue
वो
नहीं है।
गुजराती में इंसिस्ट करेंगे ना
हाँ।
कि प्लीज गुजराती में તમે બોલશો તો इंग्लिश गुजराती बोलશો
गुजराती,
बाकी
बस,
તમારું इंग्लिश
बाकी
इज
कोई
बेटर
issue
देन दिस
नहीं।
गुजराती व्हाटएवर यू जस्ट स्पोक
Yeah.
बट अगर मौका मिले, मेरा पर्सनल हो सकता है कि इफ़ यू कैन डिस्प्ले मल्टी फेसेड, कि आप उसी ईज के साथ एक किसान से भी मिल सकते हैं, एक मिनिस्टर से भी मिल सकते हैं, कोई इंटरनेशनल डेलीगेट आता है उसको भी हैंडल कर सकते हैं। अगर ये तीनों कलर आपने दिखा दिया तो कोई दिक्कत। हाउ वाज योर मेंस?
सो आई थिंक मेंस वाज गुड मतलब ये तो मेरा पहला ही अटेम्प्ट था सो मतलब एज पर माय एक्सपेक्टेशन मतलब मुझे लगा कि ऐसे का पेपर अच्छा गया और साइंस एंड मतलब 6 पेपर में से आई थिंक 2 अच्छे गए
गुजराती
એક એવરેજ ગુજરાતી सबसे वीक गया बट आई थिंक उसके सामने सर મારું ઇંગ્લિશ સારું છે
Okay.
એટલે ગ્રામર आई थिंक ઈ બે નલિફાઈ થઈ જવું
यू
જોઈએ
बोर्न इन गुजरात ओनली
હા સર મહુવા
हां क्या
મહુવા ભાવનગર
महुआ।
गुड गुड गुड
अगर मेंस अच्छा गया है
तो
एंड वी हैव इंटरव्यूड मोर देन 200 कैंडिडेट्स,
उसमें से वन ऑफ द
ठीक है,
बेस्ट
आई फील यू वुड बी अमंग टॉप 20।
yeah, sure.
होपफुली आई कैन कीप
हाँ,
अप द सेम
अगर मेंस अच्छा गया
हाँ,
टॉप 10 में भी आ सकते
आ
हो।
सकते
यस
तो-
मेंस पे हाँ
हाँ, तो
चलो थैंक यू
थैंक
Wish
यू
you all
Good
the best.
man.
थैंक यू सो
सर
मच
थैंक यू
जी